Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something you probably have in your pantry right now, peanut butter. But what's really inside that jar? Well, let's just say you might be a little surprised.
I mean, think about it. We put it on sandwiches, mix it into smoothies. It's everywhere. A classic comfort food. But have you ever really stopped and wondered what else is in here besides, peanuts?
Okay, I'm just going to say it. The source material puts it this way: rat hairs in your peanut butter. Yeah, you heard me right. Now hang on. Before you go and raid your kitchen cupboards, let's actually figure out what's going on here. So this isn't just some crazy internet rumor. Nope, this comes from the official rulebook. We're talking about the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Let's see what they actually have to say about this. All right, before I give you the number, let's get a clear picture of how much peanut butter we're even talking about. So, 100 grams, what does that even look like? It's about 6.5 tablespoons, so, a pretty decent scoop. Got that in your head? Okay.
So for that amount, that 100 grams of peanut butter, the official FDA allowance is an average of up to 5. That's right, 5 rodent hairs.
Okay, let's just lay it all out so it's super clear. The group making the rules, that's the FDA. The food we're talking about, peanut butter. And the official on-the-books allowance, an average of up to 5 rodent hairs for every 100 grams. And I can hear you now. You're thinking, okay, but that's gotta be for the cheap off-brand stuff, right? Not my peanut butter. Well, let's take a look.
Yeah, the thing is, this rule applies to everyone. We're talking the big names, Jif, Skippy, you name it. They all operate under the very same FDA guidelines. This is an industry-wide standard.
All right, so the big question is, why? I mean, why is this even a thing? And the answer gets us into the whole rationale, which really comes down to an unavoidable fact about how our food gets made.
So let's just get right to it. How does this even happen? Is it because the factories are just dirty? Well, the answer is a little more complex than that. It actually has way more to do with the farm than the factory.
The FDA actually has a name for this stuff. They call it a natural defect. And what that means is it's a type of contaminant that's pretty much impossible to avoid when you're growing and processing food on a huge scale. Even when you're trying to keep things as clean as possible.
Just imagine the life of a peanut, right? It grows in a field out in nature. It gets harvested by machines, stored in giant silos, and then gets processed. Along that whole journey, it's almost impossible to stop tiny little bits of the outside world from getting mixed in.
And this one quote from the source material really nails the official viewpoint. It says, it's a natural part of the food processing process. So the takeaway here is that it's not seen as a mistake or a sign of a dirty facility. It's just a fact of life when you're making this much food. Okay, but let's be real. This all leads to the one question that really matters. We get that it's allowed, we get why it happens, but is it actually safe to eat? And the short answer, straight from the FDA, is yes. The whole point of these limits is to set a level that is not a danger to your health. The goal isn't perfect sterile purity, because that's impossible. The goal is safety. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This whole thing, it's not just about peanut butter. Not at all. This is actually part of a way bigger system for how our food is regulated. So all these rules come from this one official guide from the FDA. It's called the Defect Levels Handbook. And yeah, it's basically the go-to manual for all these natural defects in tons of different foods. And trust me, it's not just rodent hairs. In this handbook, you'll find allowable levels for things like insect fragments, mold, grit, you name it. It's a totally standard thing across the food industry. So this all boils down to a classic case of expectation versus reality, right? As consumers, we kind of hope for absolute perfection, for total purity in our food. But the reality for regulators is different. Their goal is much more practical, making sure it's safe. They know perfection is impossible, but safety, that's the one thing they can't compromise on. So after all that, what's the bottom line? What's the one big idea you should walk away with? It's this. The FDA isn't trying to promise us that our food is 100% sterile. They know that's just not realistic. Their actual job is to make sure our food is safe by understanding and regulating the messy, unavoidable realities of making food for millions of people. So, I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about. Now that you know that a natural part of the process can include some surprising things, does that all natural label on the jar mean what you thought it meant?